finally, something finally popped up on my feed, right? I've been waiting for a video to break down what happened at the November 13th UAP hearing. I've been avoiding the news. I wanted to check it out this way, all right? So we finally got something. This video here, and I got two videos I want to check out, but the first one is the top 10 moments from the November 13th UAP hearing. Let's check it out.
Some of the testimony you will hear them deliver today does not reflect well on influential individuals and agencies within the U.S. federal government and perhaps some of our contractors.
Welcome to Watch Mojo. And today we're counting down our picks for the most noteworthy moments from this historic congressional hearing, the results of which may see the American government open up about extraterrestrial activities.
AARO and the Pentagon have broken the law by not revealing a significant body of information about UAPs, including military intelligence databases that have evidence of their existence as physical craft.
Number 10. Nancy Mace blasts the Department of Defense.
Non-human intelligence exists. Non-human intelligence has been interacting with humanity. This interaction is not new, and it's been ongoing, and there are unelected people in the government that are aware of that.
Spearheaded by the Committee on Oversight and Accountability.
How does that feel for y'all to hear that? Something that we've been screaming, researching, looking for, searching every square inch that we can to get information. Videos, different accounts of what has happened, people's stories and testimonies. But to now hear it in this form, in this setting, how does that feel for some who are those just complete skeptical non-believers? How does that feel for you, huh?
The November 13th, 2024 hearing on UAPs, entitled Unidentified Anomalous Phenomena, Exposing the Truth, got off to a fiery start, courtesy of outspoken Republican Congresswoman Nancy Mace of South Carolina.
No amount of outside pressure would ever keep me from pursuing a subject to ground, come hell or high water. On that score, I want to thank our witnesses for being here. We have before us a panel of individuals accomplished in the military, in civilian government, in science, and in journalism.
True to the committee's goals and intentions, Mace explained that the hearing had been convened in the interest of transparency to taxpayers. Specifically, Representative Mace addressed the need for results, whether they identify the cause and true nature of UAPs or yield nothing at all. In perhaps her boldest moment, Mace noted that the Pentagon, quote, has failed 6 consecutive audits and that it had never successfully passed one.
Adding to this is a runaway overclassification of documents and materials, a reluctance to declassify materials when appropriate, and at times an outright refusal to share critical information with Congress.
Number 9, Luis Elizondo's explosive testimony.
Let me be clear. UAP are real. Advanced technologies not made by our government or any other government are monitoring sensitive military installations around the globe. Furthermore, the U.S. is in possession of UAP technologies, as are some of our adversaries.
Author and media personality Elizondo held nothing back during his testimony. This probably wasn't all that surprising to those who have followed his career. The self-described former Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program Director has, since at least 2017, been vocal about what he claims is a wide-ranging government conspiracy.
I believe we are in the midst of a multi-decade secretive arms race, one funded by misallocated taxpayer dollars and hidden from our elected representatives and oversight bodies.
That would be to keep the public in the dark about UAPs, and particularly their possible extraterrestrial origins. Although Elizondo's statement was by far the briefest of the men called to testify in front of Congress, it's hard to argue that it packed the biggest punch. Elizondo openly accused a small cadre within our own government of creating a culture of suppression and intimidation over the topic.
To the incoming administration and Congress, I say to you, we need immediate public transparency, and this hearing is an important step on that journey. If we approach the UAP topic in the same way as we, as Americans, have met other challenges, we can restore our faith in our government institutions.
Number 8, a mysterious white orb over Kuwait.
And since my reporting on this Immaculate Constellation last month, another source came forward who told me that they saw a roughly 13-minute-long, high-definition, full-color video of a white orb UAP coming out of the ocean approximately 20 miles off the coast of Kuwait.
Michael Schellenberger's testimony expressed the environmental journalist's belief that there is, quote, a growing body of evidence that the government is not being transparent about what it knows about unidentified anomalous phenomena. UAP, formerly called UFOs.
It was filmed from a helicopter. Then halfway through the video, the person said the orb is joined by another orb that briefly comes into the frame from the left before rapidly moving again out of the frame.
To his point, Schellenberger shared several examples from a whistleblower's report that described several confounding military encounters with supposed UAPs. Most notably of all, Schellenberger revealed that he had been informed of a, quote, 3-minute-long, high-definition, full-color video of a white orb UAP coming out of the ocean approximately 20 miles off the coast of Kuwait, end quote, declining to name his source.
The person discovered the video on SIPR, the Secure Internet Protocol Router Network, which the DoD uses to transmit classified information.
Number 7. Representative Lauren Boebert takes a jab at President Biden.
Now that we have all been cautioned in this committee hearing that the mention of Pentagon's Immaculate Constellation program could put us on a list, well, I already find myself on many lists, I'm sure. So I speak my mind often, so why not just keep going with it?
Don't worry, we'll get to the secret, shadowy Immaculate Constellation and what exactly that means in a little bit. For now, though, we'll focus on Colorado Representative Lauren Boebert's commentary on it.
May as well just go all out and say it. The earth is flat, birds are government drones, and we've never set foot on the moon, and Joe Biden received 81 million votes in the 2020 election.
The controversial, outspoken Congresswoman has been a staunch ally of President-elect Trump and has repeatedly reaffirmed his false claims that his 2020 electoral defeat of Joe Biden was illegitimate. In a move that was perhaps unsurprising to those familiar with Boebert's previously stated positions, she jokingly rattled off a list of claims that might get her in trouble with the Department of Defense, including a pointed comment about President Biden's 2020 vote count.
So let's just see how many lists we could get on here today. But Mr. Schellenberger, I wanted to ask you, I think I understand from this hearing that you would agree that classifying information like this is not in the best interest of the people. Is that correct?
Number 6. Elizondo doesn't rule out the possibility of aliens.
Okay, Mr. Elizondo, you state in your testimony that, quote, advanced technologies not by our government or any other government are monitoring sensitive military installations around the globe, end quote. If these technologies are not made by any government, who's making them? Private companies, or are you implying they are crafted by a non-human intelligence?
Luis Elizondo's 2024 memoir, Imminent, Inside the Pentagon's Hunt for UFOs, was an instant smash hit, debuting at number 1 on the New York Times bestseller list. Elizondo's book details seemingly unbelievable accounts of extraterrestrial activity on U.S. soil, as well as clandestine government efforts to cover it up.
Are these private companies you're implying, or is this non-human intelligence?
It may be both.
Okay.
When it comes to Blue Force Technologies, I would not be able to discuss.
Okay. Are you read into secret UAP crash retrieval programs?
We would have to have a conversation in a closed session, ma'am.
Testifying before Congress.
And then it's like they talk about that because that's what the other two guys were talking about last time. And I understand that it's certain steps that they have to go through in protocol to protect themselves. So I understand the whole private conversations because they have either signed some things and different things that have them in sticky situations, you know? But it's like, oh man, we need that information. And it's like their hands, Congress's hands is kind of tied a little bit because they're not allowed, or they got to jump through loopholes in order to get these private conversations to happen. So I don't know if we'll ever get that. And I think the other side is banking on that. So that's the frustrating part of this. But we need that information, bro. Just the mere thought of hearing how the Pentagon and different ones are withholding information, how they're saying the agency is failed 6 audits, and this stuff is real, bro.
Elizondo claimed that a previously signed document limited his ability to speak publicly about UAPs, and that the material covered in Imminent represents what he is legally permitted to discuss. As such, Elizondo stated unequivocally that the U.S. government has been involved in UAP crash retrieval operations, and that the search for alien life definitely had an impact.
I submitted for my book through the DOPSR process, which took a year for it to be reviewed. And what is in the book is what I was told I'm allowed to talk about.
Has the government conducted secret UAP crash retrieval programs, yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, were they designed to identify and reverse engineer alien craft, yes or no?
Yes.
Number 5, Immaculate Constellation.
Representative Luna just told me if I say Immaculate Constellation, I'll be on some list, maybe a FISA warrant, so come at me, bro, I guess. But without objection, entered in the record.
See, we told you we were getting there. Perhaps the most mysterious aspect of the much-anticipated congressional hearing. Multiple participants in exposing the truth semi-seriously remarked that simply mentioning the existence of the top-secret government UAP research would get them, quote, put on a list. Schellenberger emerged as the main proponent of not only the program's existence, but of its potential dangers.
The report that was just shared with Congress says Immaculate Constellation serves as a central or parent USAP that consolidates observations of UAPs by both tasked and untasked collection platforms. Immaculate Constellation includes high-quality imagery intelligence and measurement and signature intelligence of UAPs, the whistleblower's report adds.
The author testified that, quote, a source warned that simply printing the name Immaculate Constellation could trigger government surveillance of me under the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, FISA, of whoever publishes it. As we mentioned earlier, Schellenberger declined to divulge the nature of any of his sources, but confirmed that they are either present or former U.S. government officials.
I think that what the American people need to know is that the U.S. military and intelligence community are sitting on a huge amount of visual and other information, still photos, video photos, other sensor information, and they have for a very long time. And it's not those fuzzy photos and videos that we've been given. There's very clear
high res,
high resolution.
Number 4.
I've been saying that too, bro. The videos we receiving, probably that's just the bottom of the barrel of what they have that they're just giving us, like the scraps and the crumbs. That's what they've been feeding us for the past however long. They got some stuff high definition, so probably you could zoom in on to some of these spacecrafts or UAPs so good that you could probably see what's on the inside of it if it has a clear dome shape. Like, I believe that. They've just been feeding us the scraps. That's all we've been, and we've made the best of it, don't get me wrong.
Michael Gold keeps it light.
The NASA brand is synonymous with hope, optimism, and credibility. If you were to take a walk down the National Mall, you would immediately see the NASA logo on t-shirts, hats, and bumper stickers. Few federal agencies enjoy this kind of popularity. I've never seen anyone wearing an Office of Personnel Management t-shirt.
In stark contrast to Elizondo and Schellenberger's testimonies, ex-NASA official Michael Gold struck a light, even occasionally humorous tone in his. Gold emphasized the instrumental roles that science and academia carry out in helping to shape our understanding of the world, and included the formal study of UAPs under that umbrella.
NASA could, with relatively little cost and effort, host symposia on UAP, or even just participate in existing panels examining the topic. NASA personnel stepping forward and participating in such discussions would make a powerful statement to the scientific community that UAP should be taken seriously and researched accordingly.
For context, Gold has worked as NASA's former Associate Administrator of Space Policy and Partnerships and is currently the Chief Growth Officer at Redwire, an aerospace manufacturer. It also seems important to note that while employed at NASA, Gold was a member of its independent UAP study team. In his testimony, Gold was optimistic about the part his former employer could play in combating the stigmatization of UAP research.
For relatively little cost and effort, NASA could create an AI or ML algorithm that could search the agency's archives for anomalous phenomena. I suspect that such an effort would not only result in information that will help us to understand UAP, but could result in data that will assist in other areas of scientific inquiry, such as anomalous weather or meteorite activity.
Number 3, Timothy Galladay's disappearing email.
During this exercise, I received an email on Navy's secure network from the operations officer of U.S. Fleet Forces Command. The email is addressed to all the subordinate commanders, and the subject line read in all capital letters, "Urgent Safety of Flight Issue." The text of the email was brief but alarming, with words to the effect, "If any of you know what these are, tell me ASAP."
The former Assistant Secretary of Commerce for Oceans and Atmosphere under President Donald Trump is a well-known member of the UFO community. and a major proponent of declassifying UAP research in the interest of public awareness. Galladay's testimony painted an alarming picture of not only what UAPs may be capable of, but the dangers inherent in allowing for overprotective, overreaching government secrecy on the matter.
The now declassified video showed an unidentified object exhibiting flight and structural characteristics unlike anything in our arsenal. The implication of the email was clear. The author was asking whether any of the recipients were aware of classified technology demonstrations that could explain these objects.
The retired Rear Admiral described his involvement with the Go Fast video, one of the most famous depictions of a UAP to date. Galladay testified that an email containing the video had been scrubbed from his account as well as the accounts of other officials to whom he'd spoken.
The very next day, that email disappeared from my account and those of the other recipients without explanation. Moreover, the commander of Fleet Forces Command and the operations officer never discussed the subject. Even during weekly meetings specifically designed to address issues affecting exercises like the one in which the Theodore Roosevelt Strike Group was participating.
Number 2, a committee.
See, and this is why a lot of people don't come forward. One, the evidence that they have to present could be taken back from them, like an email or something like that. If it's electronic or, you know what I mean? They could take that back, and they have the ability to make you look crazy. They have the ability to turn your world upside down. Like, this is why people don't come forward. Man, imagine how many people are sitting on the sidelines right now, eager to say something, but in fear of doing so.
Commitment to destigmatizing UAP reporting.
Science requires data, which should be collected without bias or prejudice. Yet, whenever the topic of UAP arises, those who wish to explore the phenomena are often confronted with resistance and ridicule.
While the content of its testimonies varied significantly, one theme was a constant presence throughout unidentified anomalous phenomena exposing the truth, and it could even be described as its goal. That theme? The fact that Americans should never fear the consequences of speaking out in service of what they feel is right.
Equally concerning, last year's UAP hearing also revealed that elements of the government are engaged in a disinformation campaign to include personal attacks designed to discredit UAP whistleblowers. Having never signed a non-disclosure agreement regarding UAPs, and now as a private citizen, I've become an advocate for greater UAP transparency from the government.
In this case, that would be the stigma associated with UAP whistleblowing. Gold, Schellenberger, Elizondo, and Galladay all decried the alleged culture of silence and fear that prevented further study of UAPs. In particular, Gold noted that, quote, the stigma prevents scientific inquiry, the best tool that we have to understand anomalies, from being fully applied, end quote.
Members of the NASA UAP independent study team, particularly those in academia, were mocked and even threatened for simply having the temerity to engage in the study of UAP.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into settings and switch on your notifications. Number 1, Moskowitz versus Elizondo.
I'm a recovering lawyer, so I'm going to put my hat on for a second. You said you signed a document. Love that. Who gave that to you?
The U.S. government, sir.
Okay, you have a copy of it?
It is stored in a SCIF right now. I do not have possession of it. The U.S. government does.
What department of the U.S. government gave you this document?
I will say the Department of Defense. Unfortunately, I can't say in this forum much more than that.
Overall, members of the public who were hungry for drama or earth-shattering revelations may have left the hearing disappointed. The general tone was cordial, and everyone involved spoke their mind without any great resistance from the congressional panel. However, this is with the notable exception of what threatened to be a heated exchange between Luis Elizondo and Florida House Representative Jared Moskowitz.
You specifically said the document said you can't talk about crash retrieval. Well, you know, you can't talk about Fight Club if there's no Fight Club.
Correct.
Okay, I'm just...
That's the first, we all know that's the first rule of Fight Club. Nobody, you know the first rule of Fight Club, right? If you don't, go watch the movie.
Making an observation.
The congressman jokingly referred to himself as a, quote, recovering lawyer before pressing Elizondo on the documents that would guarantee his silence. At one point, a comparison to the 1999 film Fight Club caused the chamber to burst into laughter. Refreshingly, the exchange never devolved into mudslinging or name-calling, an outcome that seems almost unfathomable in 2024.
You're not some conspiracy theorist. You actually have a legitimate background.
Well, sir, I'm certainly not a conspiracy theorist. I'm fact-based, just say facts.
So when you're in this room, I want to paint the picture of everybody. You're in this room, you're by yourself, you're in a skiff, you're handed a document. How long is the document?
It's about a page front and back.
What do you think will come of unidentified anomalous phenomena exposing the truth? Let us know in the comments below.
If there's no further business without objection, the subcommittee stands adjourned.
The report is quite extraordinary. It says that there is an unacknowledged special access program called Immaculate Constellation.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're taking a closer look at Immaculate Constellation, an alleged beyond top-secret U.S. government program that could finally reveal all about alien life, UAP sightings, extraterrestrial visitations, and a whole host of other apparently unexplained phenomena.
The burden is on Congress to protect these brave individuals who are understandably scared to go public because they have had their security clearances, their professions, and in some cases, according to some people, their lives threatened.
As we barrel toward the end of 2024, it is, to say the least, a busy period in the United States. The election is making its mark on history as one of the most bitterly contested of all time. But while Kamala Harris and Donald Trump take lumps out of each other on the public stage, there are other potentially hugely significant stories taking shape in the background. Stories that really could alter the history not just of America, but of the entire world. And they're grounded in one two-word phrase: Immaculate Constellation.
A two-word program popped up in international media in the past couple of days. And there's a lot of speculation.
Now, when anybody take a drink like that, bro, you can see how serious this stuff is, man. And it already looks to me like he trying to think about what he wants to say. He's made choose his words. Like, this thing is striking fear, obviously, in a lot of people, because who wants to end up on a list? I don't. I know you don't. So this stuff is serious.
About who knew what and when.
So how did we get here? The public perception of unidentified anomalous phenomena, otherwise known as UAP and formerly known as UFOs, has undergone a massive shift in recent years. First came the headline-grabbing leaked videos beginning in 2017. Then came official recognition of those videos and others, culminating in the Pentagon's preliminary assessment report on UAP, which was published in June 2021.
The videos of mysterious airborne objects have captured the public's attention.
We're all going against the wind. The wind's 120 knots to the west. Look at that thing, dude.
That report was extremely brief and very lacking in substance, however. Many were dissatisfied until the spotlight fell on David Grush, who, in 2023, testified before the U.S. House Committee on Oversight and Accountability. Grush, a former high-ranking intelligence official, claimed, among other things, that the U.S. government or sections of it was maintaining a huge but entirely hushed-up UAP program, which further involved the retrieval and reverse engineering of allegedly, quote, non-human technologies.
You've said that the U.S. has intact spacecraft. You said that the government has alien bodies.
I have to be careful to describe what I've seen firsthand and not in this environment.
For a short while, Grush's hearing was big news, but then the clamor disappeared. The excitement leveled off, and most media outlets went quiet on the issue.
And see, that's the thing. Did it level off or was it suppressed? That's what you have to ask yourself, because I feel like it was suppressed. I felt like they did their job that they wanted to do. They completed their task of making him look bad and others and suppressing the content and making sure that nobody would pay attention to it. And it didn't get out or reach further to the masses.
Fast forward to today, though, a little over 1 year post-Grush, and enter Michael Shellenberger. Shellenberger is a highly respected investigative journalist. He's worked on a wide variety of stories and issues during his career, often with a particular interest in uncovering and challenging hidden abuses of power. On October 8, 2024, when he published a groundbreaking article, Shellenberger set his stall out against an alleged beyond top-secret program called Immaculate Constellation. In his piece for Public and in subsequent interviews, Shellenberger claims to have met with another whistleblower from inside the U.S. government. As with Grush, the individual is said to be entirely credible, although in order to protect his source, he gives no further information about them.
I am in direct contact with the whistleblower. I have verified, I've interviewed the person several times. I have verified their credentials and who they are, either in government or as a government contractor. I'm not going to say which, just to keep the universe of potential positions large, as I'm also not revealing their gender or anything else about them to protect them.
Importantly, Schellenberger does say that this person has written an extensive report to Congress after they came across proof of Immaculate Constellation, seemingly by accident. The claimant allegedly reveals that the program chiefly consists of a massive and until now unknown database of UAP sightings and records. The numbers involved are seemingly much higher than anything the U.S. intelligence community had previously revealed. The scope seemingly goes far beyond what even most of the U.S. government is aware of. Schellenberger highlights how he's especially concerned about the last part, because if true, it means that some sections of U.S. intelligence are effectively going rogue. They are manipulating and hoodwinking the system in order to withhold information from the government, which is very illegal.
Your understanding is that Immaculate Constellation consists of the capability to detect, quarantine and transfer UAP and alien reproduction vehicle collection incidents before they are observed and circulated within the military intelligence enterprise, thus serving as a means of enforcing internal information security.
More specifically, it's alleged that Immaculate Constellation is an unacknowledged Special Access Program, or USAP. Broadly, these are programs about which it actually is legally permissible for certain figures to deny knowledge if they're ever questioned in the public sphere. However, everyone working in and for the U.S. government is still constitutionally obliged to be straight with Congress, and at least with the highest-ranking select group of Congress, known as the Gang of Eight.
So that's their way around it right there. For them to be able to say, hey, that's a separate, we didn't know they were doing that, plausible deniability for them. They can say that's a separate division that, or they're not linked to us, or we don't know what's going on. I didn't know they were doing that. They have so many different ways, bro. That way, when they get questioned, they can genuinely say, we didn't know that was taking place. This is just crazy how things are run and how manipulative everything is that we supposedly supposed to trust and believe in. Sickening.
Laws in place to ensure that no one person or group can just make up their own rules, including in relation to USAPs. But with Immaculate Constellation, it's alleged that those laws have been broken. It's said that the UAP database is fed and managed and known of only by a small number of intelligence agents. It could be said that it's all handled entirely and truly off the record.
So for me, this is fun. This is first and foremost a story about abuses of power. You might think that what people are seeing, these UAPs are just new military craft and it should be kept secret from the American people. That's fine if you think that. But they still are required by the Constitution to inform members of Congress about those programs.
Beyond claims of an extensive UAP database, what else is being suggested? Another key term that features in the early reporting is alien reproduction vehicles, or ARVs. Although the history of this term is dubious even among ufologists, Schellenberger raises it in relation to his source specifically.
Alien reproduction vehicle, I don't think I'm not sure I'd used that term before. It's obviously going to raise a lot of eyebrows, and I should stress that I'm not saying I know that they exist or that I'm endorsing any other part of the things that have been said about that. But indeed, that is what this person has put in their report to members of Congress, notifying them about this database.
ARVs, if they exist, are U.S.-owned and operated machines or entities which run via non-human technology and or propulsion. The apparent allegation here is that there are people within the U.S. authorities who not only have knowledge of UAPs, but have also had access to them, and have been successful in reverse engineering them to their own needs. Again, it's suggested that all of that has happened and perhaps has been happening for decades without Congress ever having even an inkling of the truth. Schellenberger further reveals limited details about alleged specific events that are and were in some way recorded by the Immaculate Constellation program, according to his source. For example, in an interview on Reality Check with Ross Coulthart for News Nation, he refers to a UAP encounter in which a US F-22 fighter jet was suddenly surrounded by approximately 3 to 6 UAPs, at which point it's suggested that the UAPs showed aggression and domination in order to force the plane to change course.
I mean, the first most obvious thing you're struck by with that particular case is that this technology or form of life or whatever it is, adversary, is demonstrating dominance.
In another case, Schellenberger says that his source reports a glowing orange orb that was witnessed by multiple U.S. Navy personnel. It's said that once the orb had passed, they all described being left with a deep sense of unease within themselves.
And so I was impressed to see that that had been properly documented by whoever it was in the U.S. military that had done the interviews with the crew to describe these hypnotic effects.
In the same interview, Schellenberger took aim at what he deemed to be a decades-long concerted effort by some arms of the U.S. government to ridicule UFO claimants in the past. It may be that this stance was initially designed purely to discredit those people via character assassination. But again, and as mentioned at the top of this video, the public view and mood has undergone a big shift in recent times. Nevertheless,
that's why I've been screaming for the longest, bro. They owe all those people more than just an apology. But you can start with an apology, bro, for all those people that came forward, were on those tabloid magazines and exploited and made to look crazy, the ones that they set at the aisle by the register at the beginning of the aisle where you coming through the register and you look at those tabloids and that different things and they made them look crazy and all that kind of stuff like that. They owe those people a lot.
Schellenberger is keen to stress how scared would-be whistleblowers often are.
David Grush is on the record saying that people have been killed. I don't have evidence of that. That's not my claim. I'm saying that's what he said. I've certainly seen other people say it. I did do a whole story last year on UAP witnesses and whistleblowers reporting threats, including death threats, not just in the United States, but around the world. I find those witnesses credible.
And while his article is predominantly based on a report submitted by just one unknown person, it's said that there are many, many similar cases, that there are multiple individuals with a similar story to tell, having come across evidence of the Immaculate Constellation program in one way or another.
But it fits into the parameters of the program that he describes, is that this Immaculate Constellation uses a lot of different kind of platforms to collect UFO, USO, UAP type imagery and collates it into one place. Is that right?
Yeah. For Schellenberger, the fact that there is so much fear surrounding the question of whether they should or shouldn't speak out is another crucial takeaway from his investigation. He says that much more needs to be done by Congress to protect whistleblowers in general. The fear is so high that it's even been suggested that anyone who even searches the term Immaculate Constellation could find themselves under surveillance by the very same intelligence groups that are allegedly dodging Congress and breaking the law. Reacting to Schellenberger's article in an episode of their podcast Weaponized, Jeremy Corbell and specifically George Knapp further referred to keyword search analysis, which reportedly shows that the words Immaculate Constellation have only ever spiked once before, in and around the time that David Grush was first going public in 2023.
Dig into looking for Google searches for that term. Heard about where it's popped up before. Yeah. And it popped up when Dave Grush came forward. When he gave his testimony, suddenly the name of this Immaculate program, there's a spike.
Immaculate Constellation.
Yeah, Immaculate Constellation. There's a spike in Google requests under that term. Wow. Which is weird because Grush didn't mention it.
The implication being that there was panic then directly relating to all the information that's now being leaked.
And I remember hearing Chuck lean in real quiet, like he's a baller. Chuck McCullough, he is a gangster, man. He just lean in and be like, careful, Dave.
Yeah, I know.
Careful. Do you remember that?
We're on the two sides of them. Yeah.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and occasional video notifications. As the stories surrounding Immaculate Constellation grow, it is a sure bet that this is a phrase that we'll all be noticing a lot more from now on. The long-awaited and delayed follow-up official UAP congressional hearings are now scheduled for mid-November 2024, shortly after the conclusion to and results of the U.S. election. It remains to be seen if further details regarding Schellenberger's whistleblower will come to light during those hearings. But for the watching world, for the growing numbers of people who are taking an increasingly active interest, this could be the time when the window to full disclosure finally gets fully opened.
Right now, it's very real, and people don't understand that. There is a program the government has hid from Senate, from Congress, from the Gang of Eight. It's called Immaculate Constellation. And by the fucking way, that's just top of the pyramid, big piece of the pie chart. There's more up there, and there's a lot of constellations below.